What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel for another GTO build video. Today we're going to be tackling part 1 of a part 2 video that we're going to be doing on the fuel system. So part 1, we're going to start with the tank. We're going to be modifying the tank to run a -8 feed and a -6 return. So we're going to be turning this car into a return style fuel system. So I'm going to show you guys how I went about modifying my stock pump, basket, the hat, the tank, everything to work with our fuel system. And then part 2 is going to be everything else, what fuel pressure regulator that we used and everything else. So make sure to stay tuned for part 2 that's going to be coming out a little while after this video. So if you're not already, please think about subscribing and ringing the bell so that it'll keep you up to date and notify you when that video drops, as well as other Hellcat and Duramax content on the channel. There's tons of playlists that you guys can go and check out if you want something to look at. We've got a playlist for the Hellcat, the Duramax, and the GTO, as well as some how-to videos. So make sure to go check it out. But let's jump right into today's video. For this car is eventually, as a lot of you guys know, we are going to add boost to this thing. We have a WALBRO 525 pump, but these cars have a returnless style fuel system from the factory, and they have a regulator and what they call a Venturi pump all in the tank. So we're going to basically be changing that all up. I'm going to make a return style fuel system for this thing, and we're going to be using that way bigger pump. We still got to get in here and see exactly how I want to go about doing this, but let's go ahead and start getting this stuff apart. We're going to undo the plugs, obviously, the lines, and then undo this ring, get this pump out of here, and take a look at it. Alright, so we got the pump out. It's kind of a strange system, but I'm going to go ahead and use one of my transfer pumps. I usually use these for putting ethanol into the Hellcat. We transfer it out of either the 55-gallon drums that we buy, or sometimes I buy the 5-gallon pails. And these things work great for putting the fuel into the car without standing there with a funnel. So we're gonna go ahead and use one of these and pump the fuel that's left in the tank into that old can. So as you guys can see, we got the pump out. It's a rather strange setup that they use here. See if I can show you guys. So this one is a evap line, which the previous owner cut down line here. Then this one here that goes to that evap line, I believe goes to the filler neck. And then you've got this line that comes off the bottom of the tank, which I believe is the factory feed line. And that feed line hooks up inside the tank to this guy, this metal line. I don't know if you can see it. And then it goes over and goes down through the bottom of the tank, and that's your feed line. And then you've got this one, which hooks up to this right here, and then your metal line that's in there hooks up to this. So this one comes directly off the pump. I'm gonna leave this connector intact just for the fuel level sensor, and put another bulkhead right next to it for wiring, and just run our hot and ground for the pump through that bulkhead fitting. So I've got quite a bit of figuring out to do here, but let me see what I can come up with, and I'll get back with you guys. Alright guys, so as you can see here, I am cutting a small piece of cardboard out of this bag box. It's like the perfect thickness for this. So I cut some small strips, and then I go ahead and pry up the tabs on the main body of the fuel pump basket, and slide a small piece of the cardboard under each tab as I work my way around, and do that to each one so that it'll hold the tab up so that you can go ahead and pull the basket apart. Because if you try to do it without sliding something under there, it's like you need 6 hands. So this works out pretty good, so I figured I'd share it with you guys so that if you don't already know, you can try this next time. It works on a bunch of different things, like the gauge clusters and things like that as well. Alright guys, so as you've seen, we got the stock pump apart. We've got the basket here with the fuel level sensor and stuff like that on it, with its own harness. And then we've got the rest of the harness with the hot and ground wire for the pump. And I believe this is part of the Venturi and pressure regulator system for the stock system. And then we've of course got the stock pump. and then the rest of it here. And I believe that this is some sort of evap deal up here. I'm probably just gonna leave it for now just to be safe. But yeah, it's kind of a weird setup. Very strange setup, a lot more complicated than we need to be. It's gonna take some thinking on my part. Alright guys, so we're back at it. We called it quits last night. You seen we got the fuel pump all apart. This one of the stock pumps I have for this thing. And we got our new pump and parts here. So this is the pump that we decided to go with. The WALBRO 525, like I showed you guys. And what I'm thinking we're gonna do here is we're gonna get this pump in there like so, and then put the sock on the bottom of it, obviously. But I'm gonna try to put it up through this opening, which you can see here is blocked off from the factory because it has that whole setup in the tank, the pressure regulator and the Venturi pump and all that stuff. So we got to find a way to get the pump to fit up in through there. And then after we get that situated, we can start tackling the bucket. And I think the bucket's going to be pretty straightforward. We're just going to basically cut the bottom right out of this thing. And by doing so, I'm going to try to cut this whole section out, cut up to about here on these, and then leave some portions for legs so that it'll sit up off the tank, off the bottom of the tank, kind of like that. And then we can put our pump in here, put this back in there. The pump should stick out through the bottom, and then we can put our sock on, and then we can do our wiring kit. We are going to be doing a hot wire kit. I've still got to order that. I think I'm going to get it through Racetronics. I'll make sure to show you guys the part number and the kit that we end up getting. But yeah, so what I did today was I ran down to our local hardware store. I had some hole saw bits here, but I didn't have the size I wanted. So I got a couple sizes here. This one is a little bit too big, so I ended up going with this one. And it fits right down in there. And it's basically the perfect size. So we're going to get set up here, and we're going to try to use this hole saw to cut all of this stuff right out of it. And then we can put our pump in here, make a couple little notches on the side, and then make some sort of like hose clamp or some other setup that's going to hold our pump firmly in place. So let's get set up and let's start cutting. Alright guys, so as you've seen, we notched that out. Now we've got enough room to fit our pump. I think we're still going to have to do a little bit more modification on this. I'm not positive yet, but at least now our pump fits up in here. And my thought is do something kind of like that. Maybe notch it a little bit here so we can get a hose clamp on the end of the pump. And then I'm going to notch it on each side to put something in here to be able to hold the pump tight against this. And then next, I think before we can do too much else here, next we're going to have to start playing with the bucket. And so we can see about how far this is going to sit, how much we're going to have to cut off the bucket, and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and get some things out to start cutting this one, and we'll get back at it.
To the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road all over. my people needed me. Diamond in the rough, I don't know what it is they see in me. Go down as a legend in my city, cause we beat the streets. Trying to spread the wealth around the block, no, I can't keep from me. Told me I should leave. I see the bigger picture, and it's way bigger than me. Can't be living like a king, but my people need to eat. If I got it, then you got it, we gon' get back on our feet. And I put it on me. I don't wanna live life fast or die too young. Or die too young. 100 miles per hour might crash, cause good die young. But here I come. Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, nowhere, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road, all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Write my name in the stone. Cause I'm coming back home. Cause I'm coming back home. I'm coming back home. I'm coming back home. Y'all coming back home. Y'all coming back home. I'm coming back home. Y'all coming back. Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, nowhere, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road, all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Write my name in the stone. Cause I'm coming back home. Yeah, I'm coming back home.
So I figured out that the fuel level sensor goes towards the front of the tank. So what we're going to do is index our pump so that it faces the back of the tank as much as possible. And to do that, to make the sock like fit, I'm going to have to take these two legs that we made off. Well, I'm going to take this one fully off and then that one to this line. And then hopefully our sock will fit right through here. And then we can start working on getting the pump physically mounted to our bracket that we made. So let's go ahead and cut these two off, and then we should be able to get this thing mocked up. Alright guys, so these are the bulkhead fittings that I'm trying to put in the tank. They're going to sit in the tank kind of like this. So the problem I am having now though is that we have a lot less options in there than I thought. Let me stick you guys in there to show you. You're going to be upside down for a second though. But this baffling goes pretty much right over where I wanted to put the bulkhead fittings. I had to go in here and actually open up the baffling a little bit. See if I can show you guys. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it is going to work. I needed to open it up so that I could reach my hand in and get to the two spots that we marked. Everywhere else was either baffled or this was the back of the tank, so we just didn't have many options. So we're going to go ahead and get set up and drill these and hopefully get these bulkheads mounted. Alright guys, so we got the holes for our bulkheads drilled and our electrical bulkhead. We cleaned the tank all out. I've got the plastic or Teflon washers or whatever you guys want to call those seals in there. And now I am working on getting the pump wiring figured out. It comes with this little connector here, but I didn't like how small this wire is compared to the wiring that's on the pump and our hot wire kit. So I went ahead and took some bigger wire, and I'm just putting the connectors together right now. So we're going to get these finished up, and then we can splice into our electrical bulkhead, get the pump dropped in, and start figuring this thing out. Alright guys, so we pretty much have our pump fully together. We got the sock on it. This is the last bulkhead fitting that we have to put in. Whoops, as I dropped the nut. So what we've got going on over here is I did the wiring bulkhead and then ran it in and did some nice connectors and everything and shrink wrap to our plug for the pump. And then you guys probably can't see it in there, but there's not this one. Here, I'll turn you upside down. We've got another bulkhead in there. That's our return line. I could have just had it go in straight like this one and dump right out of there into the tank, but I decided to put a short piece of hose on it up against the baffling and aim it down so that it would basically try to help from aerating the fuel. And then this is the last one we got to put on. It's just going to go in simple like that. with the nut and washer on the inside. And that one is gonna go to our feed hose, which is gonna come from the pump. And then we can hook our dash 8 line right up to this on the outside of the tank, and we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and get this thing in. Alright guys, so we pretty much have our tank all back together. We have got our dash 8 bulkhead, our dash 6 bulkhead. Both of these go to a line inside the tank. This one I have up against the baffle, just pointing down, so that when the fuel returns through it, it should get shot down on this side of the baffle and or get shot directly back into fuel, depending on what the level of the fuel is. I did that for a couple reasons. I'm trying to keep it from aerating the fuel near the pump at all. And this one obviously goes directly to our WALBRO 525, and that is going to be our feed. And then we have our wiring bulkhead up here that is for our power and ground to the actual pump. So all we're going to really be using on this is the fuel level sensor, which is still going to be connected through this same plug. And that's pretty much it for the tank, guys. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and end off the video there. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified when the next part of this video comes up, so we can go over everything else that you need to know about making your own return style fuel system, and we will catch you on the next one.